Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd become the kind of person who'd trail his spouse to uncover the truth hidden beneath her actions. Yet, Laura's recent habit of staying late at the office sparked a gnawing unease within me. For weeks, she'd grown distant, her eyes avoiding mine during conversations, her responses to my affection curt, and her phone guarded as if it held the weight of classified secrets. Initially, I tried to dismiss my suspicions, convincing myself I was reading too much into her behavior. After all, a marriage spanning 12 years couldn't unravel so swiftly, could it? But the persistent ache in my gut refused to relent. So one Friday night, instead of heading home, I steered my car toward the part of town where her colleagues often gathered for drinks. There, in the dim glow of a bar's parking lot, I spotted her car. My heart pounded, each breath heavier than the last, as I stepped out into the evening air. I told myself I might be mistaken. Perhaps she was simply catching up with coworkers, and I was about to make a fool of myself. Deep down, though, a fracture had already formed in my heart before I even approached the door. As I crossed the threshold of the bar, my eyes found her instantly. She wasn't surrounded by work friends, nor did she look weary from a long day. Instead, she sat across from a stranger, her laughter ringing out in a way I hadn't heard in months. Her hand rested lightly on his arm, her smile tender and achingly familiar. The same one she once reserved for me in the early days of our love. My legs grew heavy, my throat parched, but I forced myself to linger, watching just long enough to erase any doubt. With slow, deliberate steps, I approached their table. She didn't notice me at first, too absorbed in the private world she was weaving with him. When her gaze finally met mine, her face paled, and her laughter choked to a halt. The man beside her shifted awkwardly, sensing the tension, but my focus remained solely on her. I didn't raise my voice or cause a scene. She no longer deserved that from me. Silently, I reached for my left hand and slid off the wedding band that had symbolized our vows, our shared life, and the family we'd built over more than a decade. In that moment, it was nothing more than a hollow piece of metal. I set it gently on the table before her. Her trembling fingers reached for it instinctively, but I withdrew my hand before she could graze me. The silence that enveloped us was suffocating, drowning out even the bar's ambient chatter. Her voice, barely a whisper, pleaded, "Please wait." Her wide, desperate eyes searched mine for a trace of forgiveness, but I had none left to offer. For 12 years, I'd poured my heart into her, and she'd chosen to share her warmth, her touch, and her affection with another. I glanced at the man beside her, his gaze fixed downward in shame. But I had no words for him. He wasn't the one who'd stood before me and promised forever. She was. Standing there, I realized I wasn't just walking away from her. I was leaving behind the version of myself who'd believed her excuses, who'd ignored the growing chasm between us, who'd clung to the fading hope that our marriage still held meaning. That man vanished the moment I saw her with him. What remained was someone stronger, someone who recognized his worth beyond being a second choice in his own marriage. Her voice cracked as she reached out, my name spilling from her lips as if it were the only word she could grasp. But I didn't waver. I didn't pause. I turned and walked toward the exit, leaving her and her companion amid the wreckage of the life she'd shattered. My silence spoke louder than any words could. Stepping into the crisp night air, a quiet peace settled over me. For the first time in months, clarity replaced confusion. I no longer questioned myself or clung to empty hopes. I was liberated. The burden of her betrayal had lifted, giving way to a newfound certainty. Though the path ahead would be solitary, it was mine to tread. And unlike her, I would never betray my own heart.